Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. How you guys doing? How's everything going? How's your family? I hope all is just absolutely fantastic and well. This is a good week. This was an awesome week because so many good things are happening. By the way, thanks to every single person who has subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, go ahead. Thanks for sharing the videos with your friends and family. And liking the videos, commenting. There's so much all of us learn from the comments and the feedback that we get. I also want to thank everybody who sends me information about what's happening in their countries, because sometimes we miss a few things, and it's just amazing. Continue to send me the information that you think would be, relevant to our audiences. A lot of people have reached out to me about what's happening in Sudan. I will be talking about that. A lot of people have reached out to me about, even deeper stuff about what's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I will be getting into that. Our Caribbean brothers and sisters have been emailing me about talking about China in the Caribbean, especially in Jamaica. I will get to that. I'm just so excited when I receive that information, and I'm just trying to put it into biteable bits so that we can share. Thanks to every single person who donates to the channel. That really helps us to do our shows almost daily, because that's really, there's so much happening on the continent and around the African nation, so we're really trying to do it daily. So thanks to all you guys, you're awesome. So exciting news, guys. So now, and this was sent to me by one of our subscribers, Namibia is also starting the land reappropriation process. Yes. Which basically means Namibia is going to start giving the land back to black people. Yes. And Namibia, which is a neighbor of South Africa, for all of you whose geography is a bit, don't worry, no judgment here. Namibia, a neighbor of South Africa, looks like it's, caught the bug of land reappropriation without compensation. And this is absolutely amazing. And I don't know if you guys, remember, I told you guys, the amazing thing about Africa is when one nation does something, it kind of gives the other nations the courage to do the same. Or, we have a copycat syndrome. And in this sense, it's awesome. And that's why you saw when one nation gained independence, within a decade, nearly all of Africa, like 95% of African nations, had gained independence. And so there's that thing, which is why earlier this week when I talked about Sierra Leone, canceling the Chinese loan, I was super excited, because that shows that, now other guys get ideas. And this is what's happening in Namibia. Now, there's been a countrywide land expropriation talks. They've been ongoing for about a month or two. And this is the first time since independence of the South African nation that this conversation is actually happening, and it actually looks like it will, bear fruit. So what happened is that so Namibia gained independence in 1990, and there was the first land conference that was held in 1991. Well, now, earlier this month, President Hage Jacob, I don't know if I've said his name right, Jacob, excuse me, sorry guys. He announced a second national land conference, and it began earnestly at the beginning of October. And basically what they're looking at is the resettlement and transfer of valuable or viable agricultural land. Yes! And this is because of rising political and ethnic tensions over the transfer of wealth to its majority black population. And what's happening in Namibia is the same situation that was happening in South Africa, where the majority of the viable agricultural land was controlled by the minority, German-speaking white people, former colonizers, basically. And Namibia was a former colony of Germany. And ironically, in 2015, Germany actually acknowledged that they had committed a genocide during the warfares that took place in 1904 and 1908 against the Herero and the Nama people. Now, Namibia is, there's a huge desert in Namibia, so there's only about I think it's a very small percentage of the land that is actually agriculturally viable. And there is a plan to transfer 43% or 15 million hectares of its arable agricultural land to previously disadvantaged black people, to the natives, to the original and rightful owners by 2020. Now, by 2015, 27% of the land had been redistributed. But still, there's so much that needs to happen. I'll be sharing more details, but exciting times, yes! Right after this.
Wake up, Africa!
Welcome back to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How are you guys doing? I feel like I should be doing a dance. Like, so many awesome things are happening on the continent. And it's Namibia has caught the land reappropriation without compensation bug, and it's absolutely amazing. So basically, there are 4,000 commercial farms, right? Most of them are owned by white people. 1,000 have been were obtained by previously disadvantaged Namibians. So out of the 4,000, only 1,000 have been kind of redistributed, but that's already amazing. And these were redistributed through private transactions and also through government facilitated loans. And they also use the resettlement and transfer of agricultural land has been through the willing buyer, willing seller principle. And they've also had the ancestral land claims for restitution, and they've also had the expropriation in public interest with just compensation, and they've also had the urban land reform and resettlement criteria. But what we've seen, and this is something I mentioned the other day, is that so when Namibia gained independence in 1990, the Constitution actually protected private land ownership. I mean, come on, you're going to gain independence, you're going to shake hands for your independence, and you think you're really going to get everything you want. And what we saw was that it was limited in the land reappropriation because the predefined constitution that had been predefined before the independence actually protected existing private property owners, mostly who were the colonialists, oppressor, and who had acquired their land during the colonial injustice era. And it protected the rights of the privileged minorities. I mean, are you surprised? Of course it's going to do that. And so this has really, really delayed. So since 1990 to now, almost, 20, how many years? 1990, 2000, 2010, 2010, almost 28 years later, they still have their issues. And you know what? People try and make it seem like this just happened yesterday. No. And it's because when they gained independence, there was an elite group of Namibians, of black people, and they're always the gatekeepers of these former colonialists who had this privileged life, who had this, the privilege of education, privilege of making money, and they kind of let these things slide. Well, this is not going to happen anymore. And so what we're going to see is, the more and more questioning, more and more of a moral and, the moral and ethical questions of how and when the land was acquired, because this question has never been tackled. And all we've seen is the protection of private property. Democracy has never really worked for us, and protecting the rights of the white supremacists. But this is changing, and this is absolutely amazing. And what we're expecting is that 60% of the commercially used land, which is owned by 5,000 people, most of whom are white, will be somehow redistributed. And, but one thing that a lot of people have been arguing is that the post-colonial class society, it requires an intelligent action from the black people who have been the gatekeepers of these white supremacists. And so as much as the land must be gotten back, they have to also think beyond land reform to social equality, to the proper re-education of our people. You know what I mean? So there's a lot happening. We're really, really excited about this land redistribution. It's going to be absolutely, an amazing process to watch. First time Namibia is on my radar. And these things of Ati 5,000 people own 60% of African land. It's like a feudal system. It's like there's still royalty. This thing has to end. And you know what? I've realized in Namibia, they have so many Caucasian ministers. I'm just like, what is going on? Okay, maybe not so many, but I saw one or two and I was like, at least Kenya, at an Indian minister or a Caucasian, Kenya where we be, at least that is not the thing. But, I'm really, really excited about what's happening in Namibia. So much hope for the Southern African and the African continent, because this situation in Namibia is not unique to just Namibia. It is the situation across the African continent. Very few presidents or governments actually have the kahunas or the guts to address the land issue. When the land issue, there's three major issues: justice, social justice, reparations, land, and the education of our people. These are the things that must begin to shift in this season. May the Most High bless you and keep you. Exciting times ahead. Mwah.
Wake up!